Thank you for tuning into the RANT Experience. This episode is brought to you by our official merch store, ajsrantroom.com. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you get new uploads and live streams hot off the presses. New episodes of the RANT Experience drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now let's get into it. On today's show, we will unpack my thoughts on repealing the 22nd Amendment of the United States Constitution. We will weigh the pros and the cons, the process to accomplish it, and how this may impact future presidential elections. Listen, I will say this. This is not something we should take lightly or advocate for or against without being fully informed. But alas, this is the United States in 2025, so of course, people want to make radical changes from their social media biases. And that's why your boy is here. To disrupt the tribalism and get people on all sides of this conversation to what? Think. Listen, I'm going to do my best. In our uncomfortable conversation segment, we will unpack that stupid protest in Texas for Austin Metcalf this past weekend. And you know we got you covered on some awesome music history facts in our Turntable Rewind segment. And I think you will enjoy my throwback pick today. Well, for those watching it on the visual podcast, you will enjoy it. And I'll do my best to describe it to those listening to it on the audio podcast. And now it's time for a politics fix. Now, the Constitution of these here United States is a fundamental set of principles and laws that define how our country is governed, outlining the structure of the federal government and guaranteeing basic rights to every citizen. It establishes a system of government with three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial, and a system of checks and balances to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful. The Constitution also divides power between the federal government and individual states, defining the scope and limits of government authority. It should also be noted that each state has its own constitution, so I would advise you to check that out if you have not done so already. Now, the U.S. Constitution can be amended, and that process requires 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress and ratification by 3/4 of the states. Our Constitution was last amended on May 7th, 1992, with the ratification of the 27th Amendment. The 27th was originally proposed in 1789, and it restricts Congress from raising its own pay until after the next election. Must be nice. Wouldn't you love to have a job where you get to vote on your own pay raise? Let's go. The 18th Amendment is the only constitutional amendment to be repealed. Ratified in 1919, the 18th prohibited the manufacture, sale, and transportation of intoxicating liquors within the United States. This amendment, along with the Volstead Act, established the period of prohibition which lasted from 1920 to 1933. The 18th Amendment was repealed by the 21st Amendment, ending the Prohibition era, giving states the authority to regulate alcohol within their own borders. Now, maybe some of you are wondering, how did we actually get the 22nd Amendment? You can blame the 32nd president of these here United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, aka FDR. Brother served an unprecedented 4 consecutive terms and died just 3 months into his final term in April 1945. The 22nd Amendment was also passed in an era when Americans were concerned about the rising power of dictators overseas, namely Hitler and Mussolini. And FDR ascending to a 4th term definitely exacerbated that. So the text of the 22nd Amendment states, "No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of the president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. But this article shall not apply to any person holding the office of the president when this article was proposed by the Congress, and shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of the president or acting as president during the term within which this article becomes operative from holding the office of the president or acting as president during the remainder of such term." Now, the ambiguity here is very interesting because the 22nd Amendment only requires that someone not be elected elected to the presidency more than twice. So, say someone who was elected to 2 terms on his own is eligible to be vice president and rise to the presidency upon death, resignation, or removal of the president. Well, okay, not so fast. The plot gets a little bit more interesting because the final line of the 12th Amendment provides that no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of the president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States. So a termed out president can't be vice president, right? I'm sorry, it's just the nerd in me having a little fun right now. But when it comes to conversations around the 22nd Amendment, here are my thoughts. The 11th through the 27th Amendments are unconstitutional, period. The first 10 amendments, aka the Bill of Rights, truly protect our individual liberties and freedoms. It keeps our government in check. Everything else seems to be this sort of play to hand more power to the federal government. Not to mention, a lot of the 11 to 27 violates at least one of the first 10. And overcomplicates things. I mean, this should be pretty straightforward, bro. We shouldn't have to worry about term limits in an electoral system. Additionally, presidential powers have limitations. So why would we ever be concerned about any president becoming a dictator? The checks and balances in Articles 1, 2, and 3 literally safeguard us against overreach. Now, a possible con of abolishing the 22nd Amendment is that Barack Hussein Obama may very well still be our president. But even without the 22nd Amendment, the power of impeachment, which is basically moot today because of term limits, would be more powerful. The Congress is truly the more emotional of the 3 branches because it's truly connected to the people who send their representatives to Washington. So if the president is running amok here, and we the people want him out, ideally we should trust our reps to do the right thing, man. And let's be clear, the issue in politics really isn't term limits, it's greed. It is ridiculously expensive to run for office. It's all about money. Lobbyists, you got these super PACs receiving unlimited contributions from individuals, corporations, labor unions, other political committees. It is absurd right now. And in terms of Trump running for a 3rd term, I don't think it's necessary, to be perfectly honest. I think Trump is doing an amazing job laying the groundwork for the future of the Republican Party. Also, the brother gonna be well into his 80s by then. And that's my 2 cents on the 22nd Amendment. Hopefully I was clear and thorough. So what happened on this day in American history?
Scarface Al Capone may have built it, and nobody knows what's in it. Some say money. Some say bodies. Some say it's booby trap, and we're going to open it. What secret lies inside? It may be Scarface Al Capone's biggest secret, and we'll open it on live television. Step inside the vault with me on April 21st.
Uncover the mystery of Al Capone's vaults. Join host Geraldo Rivera Monday, April 21st, exclusively on Channel 46.
In 1986, in a much hyped television special, American journalist Geraldo Rivera made a complete ass of himself when he opened a vault that was found in the former headquarters of Chicago gangster Al Capone. However, he and an estimated 13 million TV viewers discovered that it was empty. This was a 2-hour special, visual foreplay in standard definition, with a disastrous ending. And with that said, are we ready for an uncomfortable conversation? It's always lit over at ajsrantroom.com. We got the best bags and accessories, our beloved Black Series. We got fresh lids for you hat lovers, fire jackets and hoodies, and of course we got you covered on the t-shirts. And introducing our first shoe line, Aloysius Germain. So get on over to ajsrantroom.com today and get to shopping. You won't be disappointed. White Lives Matter movements are just as racist and dumb as Black Lives Matter and all of their movements. I personally don't care if you want to segregate. If you want to be with only Black people, be with only Blacks. If you want to be with only whites, do that too. But at this point in our country's history, movements like this and like this are bullshit. You have one side hell-bent on living in historical hurts. And as I've said a million times, and I'll probably say a million times more, it is one thing to know your history, it is another to live in it. And these people frame their entire lives on the backs of their ancestors, who actually did the heavy lifting. And then you have the other side, using tragic instances like that of what happened to Austin Metcalf to parade around a racist ideology, thereby causing more racial division in our nation. All of it is irresponsible. All of it is dumb. All of it is retarded. This past Saturday, April 19th, in Frisco, Texas, a bonehead named Jake Lang coordinated a peaceful protest to protect white Americans. This is in response to the unfolding incident that resulted in the death of beloved teenager Austin Metcalf at the hands of another teenager, Carmelo Anthony. Yes, Carmelo's black. Yes, Austin Metcalf was white. And to draw the tragedy of Austin no longer being here along racial lines is ridiculous. White people unalive white people. Black people unalive black people. Teenagers do bonehead things regardless of race. White kids shoot up schools. Black kids shoot up schools. To me, a perpetrator is a perpetrator. Once you do the unthinkable, all of your trauma goes out the window for me. But here we are, taking one instance and amplifying it into a nothing burger. Even the father of Austin Metcalf has said he does not want this to be racial or political. And what does this Jeff Lang moron do? He gets on the phone from the rally to antagonize Jeff Metcalf for not supporting his bullshit cause.
Would you be willing to stand by me in a press conference or in an individual interview and talk about this issue that is larger than Austin at this point? God rest the beautiful young man's soul that would have been one of our strongest voices if he was still alive today.
Are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, my turn to speak. You are part of the fucking problem, my friend. You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap. I do not condone anything you do. You do not have any fucking...
That's called white guilt.
No, let it talk.
But my son, let me finish. I give you your time. You take my son's face off your website. I am not associated with you. I don't...
You're creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness, sir.
Thanks.
You are creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness.
Here, you are being weak. I gotta be honest with you about that, sir.
You're being weak. Condemn your son's killer and the culture that caused it.
I give Jeff Metcalf props. He has been consistent since the day his son was killed. That isn't white guilt. White guilt is doing stupid things like washing black people's feet just because they're black, or putting a ball and chain around your neck and acting like you're a slave. That's white guilt. Doing extreme things to apologize to black people for shit that you weren't there for and they weren't there for. Historical hurts that nobody living today is responsible for. Now here's a real J6er and my homie Cash Kelly on Fearless with Jason Whitlock breaking down the real Jake Lang. Take a look.
It seems like some of y'all think he's a Fed, that someone is funding it. But you also said he comes from a lot of money. It sounds like as well, listening to you all talk and the favors he has been able to do for people, perhaps like a Philip Anderson, the black guy supporting him. Walk us through any of that.
All right, look, it's his dad's money, number one. Number two, he got a bunch of, it's not Jake's money. Jake creates a whole bunch of foundations or PACs, right, where people donate money to for different things. Like right now they got ones for like Ethiopian kids, you know what I'm saying, and ministering Jesus Christ to them. And the other one is for January 6ers relief. And then another one over here for Save the Whales or whatever it is, right? And he attaches himself to all these things and puts it out there into the public. And what he told us is that he has a bunch of people from like India or Philippines or something that are bot accounts that inflate his numbers on X, at formerly Twitter. And when they inflate the numbers, it gives the illusion that I need to watch this. So it looks like he has a ton of support. So people end up clicking on the video and then they end up donating and they end up, why do you think he got put everywhere? He's had an assistant since we've been locked up. The man had an assistant from like the Philippines or Vietnam or so wherever they were from, doing his stuff for him while we were incarcerated and blowing up his numbers. When he dropped his little weak documentary where he tried to make himself like he was Jesus Christ, he blew that up. People weren't interested in that. And then it started to catch wind because of the inflated numbers. And people started thinking, oh my God, this poor guy. He's locked up for January 6th, and he was a patriot. He saw people die, and he lied.
So there you have it. The man's a fraud. And sure, we can have the nuanced conversations about so-called black culture and so-called white people and so-called racism and so-called this and that. Those are nuanced conversations that none of y'all are ready to have. For if you were, you wouldn't create stupid protests like this one. And with that said, this is our Turntable Rewind. So in the year of our Lord, 1998, these were the top 10 songs on the Billboard Hot 100. Coming in at number 10, yippee-yi-yo, gonna work that body, baby. Body Bumpin' by Public Announcement. At number 9, we have Sex and Candy by Marcy Playground. Number 8, Romeo and Juliet by Silky Fine featuring Chill. I had no idea what that song was until I read this. Coming in at number 7 is Truly, Madly, Deeply by Savage Garden. Then we got Usher coming in nice and slow at number 6. Madonna's Frozen is at number 5. Let's Ride by Montel Jordan at number 4. You're Still the One by Shania Twain at number 3. Hit number 2 is the wedding song of the late 90s, All My Life by Casey and JoJo. And the number 1 song on this day in 1998 is still a bop to this day, Too Close by Next. Baby, when we're crying, I get so excited. I don't even know if those are lyrics, but the beat is bumping, the melody is hot. Who cares? You can still light up a dance floor with it. On this day in music in 1971, Marvin Gaye released his celebrated 11th studio album, What's Going On. The concept album, which revolved around the bittersweet homecoming of a Vietnam vet, delivered poignant social commentary about inequality in America. A landmark title, What's Going On, marked a turning point in Gaye's career. Considered to be one of the greatest albums of all time, the LP was met with broad critical acclaim and commercial success, remaining on the Billboard 200 for more than a year and spawning several hits, including the title track, Mercy, Mercy Me, and Inner City Blues, Make Me Wanna Holla. In keeping with the theme of the Vietnam War, on this day in 1970, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young released their protest anthem, Ohio. The poignant track was written by Young in response to the Kent State Massacre, during which National Guardsmen killed and injured multiple unarmed student protesters who were peacefully opposing the Vietnam War. On April 21st in 1955, Chuck Berry recorded Maybelline, his debut single, and one of the world's first rock and roll songs at Chicago's Universal Recording Studio. And in 2011, Adele scored her first number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 with Rollin' in the Deep. The Grammy-winning song, which led to her sophomore album 21, held the spot for 7 weeks, eventually becoming the best-selling digital song by a female artist in the United States. Now, here are some notable April 21st birthdays. Shout out to Ronald Isley, the icon, the legend himself, was born on this day in 1941. And shout out to the Notorious B.I.G., the late great Notorious B.I.G., who was born on this day in 1972. And now it's time for an AJ throwback. Oh, that's a nipple, because I'm drooling. If you don't get the reference, it ain't my problem. Go watch the movie Boomerang, and then you'll find it somewhere in that movie. But this was my first professional photo shoot ever. This was the first time I had a real photographer who understood lighting and angles and all of that good stuff that photographers know. I was 18, 19 in this picture. I don't know. I'm not going to say the year because that'll give away my age, and we ain't doing that up on here. This was in the Bronx. I love my hair. I love the shadows. The sheer pants are dope. Yes, I had on draws. This was before I really started dancing, like before I really took it seriously. But this was workout every day, AJ. This was wake up and do crunches, AJ. This was the AJ who had a solo flex in his bedroom. Y'all can't see me. And now it's time for some shout outs. Shout out to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who rose this past Easter Sunday. He is risen. And I couldn't be more grateful. Shout out to the RANT fam who always support me, holding me down. And of course, shout out to my Trifecta Hour fam. Make sure you check out our podcast, Trifecta Hour, every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the YouTubes. And make sure you pay a visit to the sponsor of this video, ajsrantroom.com. Now, to some of you, this might be just another podcast, but to me, this is my next chapter in purpose, and I thank you for lending me some of your time. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you chose to give me a few moments of your day, and for that, I'm grateful. And with that said, I'm out.